the questions, how much of a process did you go through? Because obviously a big part of the app is the verification process.
Yeah.
How long did it take you, and what was the process to develop those questions? Was it just a couple of girls and a glass of wine in in the pub, or was there some real proper sort of user interface experience going on?
So I've done a lot of. I've done my own personal journey. I've had a life coach. I've come from being in a not very good place to being where I am now, and I know the journey I've made and what I now look for in a relationship, and how I've kind of looked at it from a different perspective. Interests, what is important to me, what would be important to someone else. I didn't know about love languages until during lockdown, when I was chatting to someone online, and he said, "Oh, what's your love languages?" I went, "Pardon? No idea what they are."
We won't go into my love language on this thing.
and
so what are love languages?
So you've got 5 love languages. It's how you express love. So it'd be physical touch, receiving and giving gifts, words of affirmation, acts of service, and quality time. Now, if you've got someone that's their love language is quality time, but the other person's love language is receiving and giving gifts, and their number 5 is quality time for them, there's going to be a disconnect.
Right, yeah.
So, that's the type of question I've gone, do you know what? That's actually quite a valid question. You need to put that in there. You need to, because you need to have people that are aligned in certain ways for it to work.
Yeah.
Sex drive, and this is stuff that's not on normal apps. Sex drive is not on a normal app.
Right.
So none of the other apps ask that question. But if you've got someone that's got a really high sex drive and another one that's got a low sex drive,
it's not going to work, is it?
It's not going to work.
Yeah. Fundamentals of relationship building.
Yeah, so that's why I've put these questions in there.
Why do you think a lot of apps don't ask some of these questions?
I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty basic question, and quite important one as well.
Yeah.
Another thing that we've got on there again, and this probably will raise some eyebrows, it's what's your sexual taste? I.e.
Strawberry.
Are you into kink? Are you into BS?
Yeah,
these different things, which are actually, if someone's vanilla and the other person's into major kink, it's just not going to work.
Again, it's just asking those questions that you would have thought would have been asked in terms of trying to get the compatibility right.
Yeah. So all of the questions are built around trying to give someone that compatibility scoring as high as possible. And they're not, you can choose whether to have that question visible on your profile or not. So if you don't want someone to see what your sexual taste is, then you can have it hidden, but it will still work towards the compatibility scoring.
Right. So the algorithms underneath take everything into consideration. You don't need to,
you don't need to physically show it. And what will happen is when you see a profile, it will show you whether or not you're 10% compatible with that person you're seeing, or 90%, or 50%. Right. So if you see someone, you're like, do you know what, he's okay, but I could take him or leave him, but you're 90% compatible, are you more likely to swipe yes because you think that there might be something more under there?
Yeah.
Whereas if you didn't have that information, would you swipe right, left, or right?
Has dating apps as a whole, how long have they been really a viable way of meeting people? And it's a fascinating, because a lot of people I talk to spend a lot of time on these apps. And I think the question is, how have they expanded? Is it because people don't go out as much? So it's that old term of socialising, going to a pub, maybe going to a nightclub. people don't seem to meet like that anymore. They
Oh,
just
no.
seem to. But why? What was that? Was I'm not saying that was the good old days, but that's how you used to before mobile phones. People used to. How did they meet before mobile phones?
Meet down the pub and take your number out the phone book.
But
Yeah,
so is it? Are we getting lazy?
Possibly. And the other thing is, I think obviously lockdown probably had a fair amount to do with it, because they were out there before lockdown and they were being used, but really they probably, when you look at the stats, they probably shot straight up during that time, because
Right.
no one could go out, no
Yeah.
one could meet anyone, so the only way they could make that connection is through the apps.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
you
think
still couldn't meet up though, could you?
well, there was not legally anyway.
Right.
You know, so I think, and also if someone lives on their own during lockdown, it must have been really hard. I mean, I lived on my own during lockdown, so you know, meeting people online, chatting to them, it was a good way to pass the time. And
Right.
you're sat there on your own, you know.
Yeah.
There's only so much TV you can watch and all the rest of it.
Well, I think lockdown. I think it's underestimated the mental strains.
Huge.
You know, your mental well-being, in my own opinion, was hit extremely hard. Doesn't matter how, the more sociable a person you were, the more it really affected
Yeah.
you. People's day-to-day lives changed overnight, and if Cherry's app had been out there before lockdown, what do you think the benefits to people would have been?
Maybe not so much catfishing, not so much scamming.
Right.
I think it definitely would have served the purpose. It might have given, you know, people more quality over quantity. That's what the whole driver around this is. Why it's where Cherry's name sort of came from. It did just pop into my head one day, but then when I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought, well, you can cherry pick your person.
Right. So that's the brand meaning.
Yeah, you can
Cherry pick.
Cherry pick your person, and also if you've not been, and it's got quite a few connotations. Pop your cherry.
Lose your cherry,
Pop your dating app cherry. If you've never wanted to go on a dating app before because you've felt worried about the security of it, then I'm hoping Cherry will give the sort of impression of being something safe for people to feel secure and comfortable.
I'm going to ask you about the brand imagery. Now, if someone hasn't seen the Cherry app, then obviously get on the app stores and download it. But describe the visuals used and what it means.
Okay, so the Cherry logo, that's out of everything we did, that was the hardest thing me and the team to get just to where it was.
Yeah.
Originally I was going to do two cherries that came together that linked in the stalk with a heart, and that was too complex, and you know, it changed quite a lot, but it was always about, I wanted to have the cherry there, but I also wanted to have the heart included in it as well. So it will have the cherry shape around the outside, but then the inside is in the shape of a heart.
Yeah.
To symbolise love and connection, just loveliness.
Just loveliness. I like that word. I don't think it's in the dictionary, but we'll have a look. So then we move from the brand identity, the logo, into the sort of initial visuals to promote the app. Talk us through some of those, because it's
Very Marmite.
it's very yes. It's something that obviously the advertising sort of conceptual side of it is something that no one's ever going to forget, which is really what we're trying to do. We're trying to make things stand out and be really individual. So just describe what they're going to see.
When we first went through the images and you were showing me all the different sort of ideas and concepts that you came up with, the frog, when you showed me the frog, I was like, nah, definitely not. But I kind of fell in love with the frog in the end. because it was just so, it's Marmite. You're either going to love it or you hate it, but it's going to get you talking whichever way. So, kiss fewer frogs.
So when people are going to start seeing this brand, they're going to see a selection of rather attractive or unattractive, depending on how you see it, frogs, toads, with lipstick on.
Yes.
And with the strapline, kiss less frogs.
Yes.
So again, that's really underpinning the whole methodology of the app in terms of less is more, being
Yes.
much more discerning in the choices and having matches that truly match you as an individual.
Yes, 100%. So you kiss fewer frogs and eventually you'll find your prince or princess.